first they killed my father. So the chapter we're going to read today is called Krang, Truop, and that is a village that they are traveling to. I wanted to show you some pictures of Lung and her family before all this happened. So this is Lung's mother. That picture, that was her sister beside her, and this is her dad, and this is her dad with some military buddies when he was really young. And they had a lot of children. So let's see. Kim, Kiev, Choi, Meng, Chow, Long, and Geek. That's 7, I believe. And there isn't a picture of all 7 of them. I think you can kind of get the picture. That was a big family. That is Luong, who is telling our story. And then this is the picture, and that's the little one, Geek. So she calls her a baby, but she could walk. Okay. On the morning of April 25th, 8 days after leaving our wonderful home in Phnom Penh, we arrive at our destination. Prang, Trop is a small and dusty village surrounded by rice fields as far as the eye can see. All around the rice paddies, little red dirt roads wind like snakes slithering through water. In the fields, gray buffaloes and brown cows graze lazily on the grass. Many have bells tied on strings around their necks, which chime when the animals slowly move their heads. When they run, they remind me of the sound of the ice cream cart in Phnom Penh. Here, instead of concrete city buildings and houses, people live in huts made out of straw that squat on 4 stilts above elephant grass in the middle of rice paddies. The kids are even messier than I am, I exclaim as one runs across our path oblivious to my own ragtag appearance. Ma's always complaining about me. Just look at them. The children are red and dusty all over, crimson earth clinging to their clothing, skin, and hair. Chow frowns at me and shakes her head. Though she is only 3 years older than I am, Chow often acts as if she knows many more things than I do. I have the larger build and I can beat her up easily, though I rarely do it, because she is shy, quiet, obedient, and doesn't say much. All our older siblings assume what she chooses to say is of some importance and usually take her side in our fights. Because I am loud and talkative, my words are thought trite and silly. Chow looks at me now with her brows wrinkling close together as if trying to figure out my thoughts. I stick my tongue out at her. I don't care. I am thrilled to be here and able to return home in a few days. After a joyous reunion with my aunts and many cousins, Pa disappears with Uncle Liang to meet with the village chief and request permission to live here. Uncle Liang and Uncle Hiang say that since the Khmer Rouge have won the war, the soldiers removed the old village chief and replaced him with a Khmer Rouge cadre. Now the villagers have to seek permission for the simplest of human desires, to have family members live with them or to leave the village to visit another area. They return shortly and report that our request is granted. My interest in the town quickly dies when Pa tells us we will all live with Uncle Liang and his family in their house. Uncle Liang and his wife have 6 children, so with the 9 of us, it makes 17 under one thatched roof. Their house would not be called a house by city people's standards. It looks more like one of those simple huts poor people live in. The roof and walls are made of straw, and the hut has only a dirt floor. There are no bedrooms or bathrooms, just one big open room. There is no indoor kitchen, so all the cooking is done outside under a straw roof awning. Later that night, Kim took me aside, scolding me for being snobbish about our new house. Even as a 10-year-old boy, he understood how brave our uncle was to beg the new Khmer Rouge village chief to permit us to stay. Okay. The village is so poor, I say to Pa as the family gathers on the uncle of Flor Liang's hut. Sitting on straw mats or wooden stools and chairs, we listen to Pa's instructions. So are we. The sternness in Pa's voice makes my face burn with shame. From now on, we are as poor as all these people here. We have to live far away from the city where people might recognize me and know who I am. If anybody outside the family asks where we are from, tell them we are country people just like your uncles. Why don't we want them to know who we are, Pa? Why can't we go home to our own house? The soldiers promised that we could go home after 3 days. The Khmer Rouge lied. They have won the war and we cannot go back. You must stop thinking we can go back. You have to forget Phnom Penh. Pa has never spoken so bluntly to me before, and slowly the reality of what he says sinks in. My body trembles with fear and disbelief. I am never going home. I will never see Phnom Penh again. I will never drive in our car, ride a cyclo with Ma to the markets, buy food from the carts. All of that is gone. He reaches out and takes me into his arms as my eyes water and my lips tremble. As Paul continues to talk, I slide out of his arms and into Kiev's. Paul tries to make my brothers understand the history of politics in Cambodia. Led by Prince Sihanouk, Cambodia, then a French colony, became an independent nation in 1953. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, Cambodia prospered and was self sufficient. However, many people were not happy with Prince Sihanouk's government. Many regarded the Sihanouk government as corrupt and self serving, where the poor got poorer and the rich became richer. Various nationalistic factions sprang up to demand reforms. One of the groups, a secret communist faction, the Khmer Rouge, launched an armed struggle against the Cambodian government. The war in Vietnam spread to Cambodia when the United States bombed Cambodia's borders to try to destroy the North Vietnamese bases. The bombings destroyed many villages and killed many people, allowing the Khmer Rouge to gain support from the peasants and farmers. In 1970, Prince Sihanouk was overthrown by his top general, Lon Nol. The United States backed Lon Nol government, but it was corrupt and weak and was easily defeated by the Khmer Rouge. Paul says many more things to my brothers, but I don't care much about politics. All I know is that I am supposed to act dumb and never speak of our lives in the city. I can never tell another soul that I miss home, that I want to go back to the way things were. I rest my head on Kiev's shoulder and close my eyes while gritting my teeth. She softly strokes my hair and caresses my cheeks. Don't worry, your big sister will look after you. She whispers quietly into my hair. Next to her, Ma sits on the mat holding Geek, who sleeps quietly in her arms. Chow is next to her, focusing on her red and white chroma, intently folding and refolding it. Later in the night, lying on the wooden plank for beds, I keep Chow awake by tossing and turning. I hate this. I am so uncomfortable. I gripe to Chow, who is sleeping next to me. In the city, we three youngest girls slept on mattresses in the same bed. On the farm, the boys get to sleep in hammocks, while the girls sleep all lined up like sardines on a rough wooden platform made of bamboo trees. I'd much rather sleep in the hammocks. Be quiet and go to sleep. Chow, I have to go to the bathroom. Go then. I'm afraid. Come with me. Chow answers by turning her back to me. Every time I have to go, I have to walk into the woods by myself to the outhouse. We have used up our paper money and now have nothing to use for toilet paper. Chow taught me to use leaves, but at night when I cannot see, I'm afraid there might be bugs on them. Entering the woods at night is a haunting experience, especially for someone with a vivid imagination. In the darkness, I see spirits shaking the trees, letting me know they're waiting for me. They whisper chants and spells that the wind carries through the leaves back to my ears. The spirits call me to come to them so they can take possession of my body. I am so filled with fear about going to the bathroom alone at night that I force myself to hold it until dawn when I make a mad run into the woods. I soon realize how early everyone gets up when they are already busy about the farm before the sun rises and long before I awake the next morning. Life on the farm is boring and dull, but at least there is enough to eat. Unlike my life in Phnom Penh, I do not have any friends outside the family. It is hard to make friends because I am afraid to speak, afraid I will blurt out secrets about our family. Paul says the Angkor has abolished markets, schools, and universities and has banned money, watches, clocks, 8-track players, and televisions. Since we are now a family of peasants, I will have to learn the time of day and night by the position of the sun and moon in the sky. If I run into other children and speak to them, I have to watch what I say and what language I use. I cannot mention the food I wish I could eat, the movies I have seen, or the cyclo I have ridden in. If I speak about them, the children will know we are from the city. I am used to kids seeking my attention and friendship in the city. Here they look at me with suspicion and steer away from me when I approach them. No matter, I have many cousins to play with. On the days I don't spend watching other people watch us, I help my older cousins bring their cows to the field to graze. I gradually adjust to life on the farm and let go of my dream of returning home. The first time my cousin Li Chiun puts me on a cow, I am afraid I will fall off. The cows are much taller than I am. Li Chiun is 16 and taller than the cows. She hoists me effortlessly on top of one. Sitting on its back, my legs hang to the middle of its stomach. My hands hold tightly to the rope tied to the ring pierced through its nose, while my legs hug its body. Every time the cow moves, its huge rib cage shifts between my legs and my heels slide over the ribs like fingers over piano keys. Relax your body, Li Chiun laughs. Cows are lazy, so they move slowly. You will fall off if you sit so rigidly. Following her advice, I stop holding on so hard and sway my upper body with the movement of the cow. After a few minutes, my fear subsides. How much farther before we stop? It's hot and my bottom is hurting, I complain. We're going just over the hill where the grass is greener. You're the one who wants to come. You're the one who wants to come, so stop grumbling. Li Chiun points to a group of girls walking in a distant field. Look, at least you don't have their jobs. They are peasant girls, not much older than I am, wandering in the field. They carry bags strapped diagonally across their back, and their eyes look at the ground. Occasionally, a girl bends to pick up a round, greenish, black patty from the ground and put it in her bag. What are they doing? They are collecting dry cow dung. That's cow poop. Disgusting! Usually, the peasants come by with their wagons and scoop up the fresh manure to use as topsoil. These girls are picking up the dry manure because it is believed to have medicinal properties. They will boil it in water and drink it like tea. Disgusting! I exclaim again. Even the new experience of riding on a cow becomes dull when you do it every day. Yet, despite the monotony of farm life, the longer we live in Krang Trop, the more fearful and anxious I become. Everywhere I venture, I cannot shake the feeling that someone is watching, following me. Though I have nowhere to go each morning, I hurriedly dress myself so I can catch a glimpse of Pa before he goes off to work. On most days, by the time I am awake, Pa and my brothers are already gone, and Ma is busy sewing clothes for the family or working in the garden. After getting dressed, I do what I can to keep up my hygiene. Pa tells us it is important, so I try to make him happy. Since we no longer have toothbrushes or toothpaste, I use a handful of hay and run it over my teeth like a brush. To get to the back teeth, I have to reach into my mouth with my fingernails and scrape away the thick yellow crust. To wash, I use a bath stall similar to an outhouse. Inside, there is a big round container that looks like a 3 foot tall clay flower pot, which Kim and the other cousins fill with water every evening. I undress and hang my clothes on a splinter of wood on the door. Then I reach into the container and take a bowl full of water and pour it over myself. There is no soap or shampoo, and as a result, my hair becomes very sticky and knotted, and it is painful to comb. Pa returns late at night looking dirty and tired. Sometimes, after a quick meal, Pa sits quietly outside by himself and stares at the sky. When he comes back into the hut, he falls quickly asleep. I hardly ever sit on his lap any more. I miss his hugs and how he used to make me laugh at old Chinese stories. Pa's tales were often about the Buddhist gods and their dragons coming down to earth to fight evil and protect people. I wonder if the gods and dragons will come help us now. Let's see if I have time to read another chapter. Oh, yes, it's a very short chapter. Waiting Station, July 1975. What's going on? I asked Ma, rubbing my eyes. Why did you wake me up? I opened my eyes to see the sky is still dark, but that Uncle Liang, his wife, Aunt Kiang, and all the cousins are up. Beside me, Chow rolls up her thin blanket, folds her clothes, and puts them in her pillowcase. Outside, Li Chiyun scoops ladles full of cooked rice and puts it on banana leaves. Kiev pokes the crackling fire to cook the dried fish, while Kim fills up the petrol container with water. Quiet, we have to go. Ma puts her hand over my mouth. I don't want to go. I don't want to walk again. I want to go back to sleep. Though we have been living at Krang Trop for 2 months and my blistered feet have healed, the thought of more walking makes my ankles throb with pain. Quiet, Pa admonishes me. We don't want anyone to hear you crying. It is not safe for us to stay here any more. We have to go and we will ride on a truck to get there. Why do we have to go, Pa? It is no longer safe for us to stay here. Are we walking a long way? No, your uncles talked the chief into arranging for us to be picked up by a Khmer Rouge truck. The truck will take us to Batambang. That is where your grandmother lives. But I do not want to move any more, Pa. Pa has no words to soothe me. Biting back my tears, I put on my flip flops and walk toward Kiev's extended hand. Pa and Ma turn to Uncle Liang and thank him for letting us stay with him. Uncle Liang looks at her face. Hang- Uncle Liang looks at her, face hanging, eyes blinking rapidly, and blesses Ma for a safe journey. The cousins stand outside the hut to see us off. Their hands dangle lifelessly by their sides as they watch Pa lead us away. By the time we arrive at the rendezvous area on the roadside, about 30 people have already gathered there. They squat and sit on the gravel road in 4 family groups. Many have almond shaped eyes, thin noses, and light skin, which suggests they might also be of Chinese descent. Pure Khmer have curly black hair, flat noses, full lips, and dark chocolate skin. Our fellow travelers do not acknowledge our presence. Instead, they stare passively at the road. Like us, they carry with them light bundles of clothes and small packages of food. We sit on the gravel road next to them, but no words are exchanged. In the dark of night, we all wait for the truck. The world around us remains tranquil and asleep. All that can be heard is the chirping of crickets. The moments feel like forever. Then suddenly, the glaring headlights of the military truck appear and it stops before us. Paul transfers me from his warm arms onto the hard, cold bed of the truck. I do not want to let go of him. I do not want to ever leave his safe arms. The ride is bumpy, shh, and loud, but the cool dawn air keeps us reasonably comfortable. Ma stares off into the distance while Geek sleeps in her arms. My other siblings are half dozing, half awake, while I find safety in Pa's arms again. Everyone is very quiet as the truck drives on. All morning the truck heads northwest as the sun climbs higher and higher in the sky and the wind blows away what little protection the clouds have to offer. The truck driver does not have Pa's driving skills, nor does he care whether those of us in the back bounce and bump into one another. The truck drives all day and stops only in the evening for us to cook our food. As soon as it stops, everyone jumps off to stretch their weary bodies. Pa lifts me out of the truck and puts me on the ground next to Chow. All around us, people are shaking their legs crazily as if trying to get rid of animals that have crawled up their pant legs. Choi walks in a circle, swinging his arms very quickly from side to side. He is a martial artist with a black belt in karate. At 5'7", Choi is slender and fit. In Phnom Penh, I love to sit and watch him practice karate. It amazed me that he could kick one leg up above his head and hold its stance for a long time. He could jump high in the air, do many fast kicks, and land safely on his feet, all in a few seconds, while screaming funny sounds and contorting his face. It always made me laugh. Now he walks around faster and faster in a circle, and his arms are like propellers about to carry him off like a helicopter. He is doing the same movements I've seen him do so many times before, but this time his face is not funny, and I am not laughing. After our short rest and meal, we get back on the truck and remain there all through the night. I wake up in Pa's lap in the morning to see that we have arrived at a truck stop. There are people everywhere. Some are cooking breakfast, others are just waking up, and many are still asleep on the side of the road or in the grass. Sitting in the back of the truck, we dare not move until the soldiers instruct us to. We are in Persat province. You are to wait here until the base people come to take you to live in their village, the soldier tells us and walks away. Why did we have to leave last night? I asked Pa. Some of the new arrivals in Krang Trop are from Phnom Penh. Even though they are friends, it is dangerous to live there because they know who I am. Pa, they're our friends. They wouldn't tell on us and get us in trouble. Friendship does not matter. They may not have a choice. Pa is very solemn as he speaks to me. I do not understand what he means, but decide not to pursue this line of questioning. Are we going to Batumbang on these trucks? I ask quietly. No, this is not the route to Batumbang. The soldiers have taken us to a different place. Can't we tell them we have to go to Batumbang? That they have taken us to the wrong place? No, we cannot argue with them. We will go wherever they choose to take us. Pa sounds fatigued as he puts me on the ground. He tells Kim to look after me while he tries to find out when we will be leaving. As he walks away into the crowd of people, I watch until his figure disappears. Kim tells me that from now on, I have to watch out for myself. Not only am I never to talk to anyone about our former lives, but I'm never to trust anyone either. It is best if I just stop talking completely so I won't unintentionally disclose information about our family. To talk is to bring danger to the family. At 5 years old, I am beginning to know what loneliness feels like, silent and alone and suspecting that everyone wants to hurt me. I am going to look around, I tell Kim, bored. Don't go far and don't talk to anyone. We might have to leave very soon, and I don't want to have to go looking for you. I want to obey my brother's warnings not to go far, but I'm curious. When my family is looking elsewhere, I sneak away from under their watchful eyes to explore the waiting station. The farther I walk, the more I see of the hundreds of people at the camp. They talk, sit, or sleep anywhere they can. Many tents have wet clothes hanging all over their lines, piles of wood by the crackling fire, and homemade wooden benches, looking as if they have been waiting for a long time. Some lie so motionless I wonder if they are alive. I stop to look at one old woman. Dressed in a brown shirt and a maroon sarong, she lies on the ground with her arms at her side and her head propped up by a small bundle. Her eyes are half closed, white hair strewn in all directions, and skin yellow and wrinkled. The young woman next to her spoon feeds the old woman rice gruel. She looks dead to me, I say to the young woman. What's wrong with her? Graham's half dead, can't you tell? She says to me in annoyance. The longer I stare at her, the more my skin sweats. I have never seen anyone who is half dead before. Ignoring me, the young woman continues to feed her grandmother. One side of her mouth swallows the rice gruel while the other side drools and spits the food back out. I never thought this was possible. I just thought you were either completely dead or alive. I feel sorry for the old woman, but I'm fascinated at the prospect of being caught between the two worlds. My fascination overrides my fear of her. Are there any doctors or anyone who can help her? There are no doctors anywhere. Go away. Aren't your parents looking for you? She is right, of course. I hear Ma calling my name and beckoning me to return. Luckily, my family is too busy boarding yet another truck to be angry with me. As Paul lifts me onto the truck, I notice two very thin, middle aged men in loose fitting black pajama pants and shirts standing next to us. While one writes something on small brown pads of paper with his black pen, the other points at our heads and counts as we climb onto the truck. I find myself a seat where I can watch the countryside. Quickly, four other families clamber onto the truck and fill up the empty space in the middle. Once all the families are on board, the two men take their notes and count again, without smiling or greeting us. After they are finished, they get into the front seats with the truck driver and we begin to move. The truck rolls away from the waiting area and onto a bumpy, narrow road crossing the mountains. The families are quiet and somber. The only sounds come from the branches brushing against the side of the truck and the slush of mud sticking to the tires. After what seems like forever, I become bored with the scenery and climb onto Pa's lap. Pa, I say quietly so the others cannot hear us, the people at the place we just left, why were they there? They are waiting for the base people to come and take them. Take them like they've taken us? Yes, the men wearing black clothes are representatives from rural villages. At the waiting area, these representatives are given a list of names and people they are to take back to their villages. Pa says quietly. Those two men, are they our village representatives? Yes. Who are the base people? Shh, I will tell you later. How come we left there so fast while all the others waited? I bribed someone with one of your ma's gold necklaces to put our names on a list so we could leave. Paul lets out a sigh and is once again quiet. I rest my head on his chest and think how lucky I am to have such a father. I know Paul loves me. Back in Phnom Penh, in the movie theater, I would always demand the seat next to Paul. When a movie got scary, I would grab onto his arm, signaling to him that I was ready to hop on his lap. And Paul would then lift me from my chair and plop me on his lap so that his body became my chair, his arms my armrest. It seems so long ago now. He seems so serious and sad, and I wonder if I will ever see my fun Paul again. This book is going to be hard to read. I have read it before, but it is going to be hard to read. So I let you know that because I cannot read it without emotion.